Greetings everybody, and welcome back to the Lupine Weekly Budget Battles, the show where we build ourselves a deck for $50 or less and bring it to our own locals where every deck has to cost $50 or less. If you'd like to join in on this format and compete on the overall ladder, you can do so by following the link in the description. We play at 7 p.m. CEST every Sunday. Now this week we are going to be playing our first ever supporter deck. This deck was presented to us by Parfuki, which, I quote, Memento best deck. Today we're playing Memento, shocker, which is basically a retrain of a bunch of old cards that are seemingly irrelevant from the game for a very long time, with a new de facto death gimmick, where all of them have some sort of effect when they destroy themselves or are special summoned by the effect of another Memento card. You kind of loop them into the graveyard, you summon a really big guy, and he gets you a bunch of negates. That's kind of their whole game plan. We're going to be really scratching the dollar on this one, because for the first time, we actually cannot afford a full side deck. We are sitting on $49.96, and that is as close as we are ever going to get. There is no way we can really budge on anything here. But we're still going to do our best and see exactly what $50 can get us if you too would like to play Memento. Now, the main key player in this deck, which is this expensive, is Mementolian Anguish at $15 and Mementolian Bone Party at $18, which really are kind of a necessity for this version of the deck. Unfortunately, there is another version of the deck that plays Paradise Smasher, but because of the new Canine archetype that were recently revealed, that has shot up in price a lot and is no longer feasible to play. So instead, we are going to be playing a version that is right in front of your faces right here. What we are intending to do is set up Cranium Burst, which gives us 5 on-field monster negates, as well as Fracture Dance in order to get a pop 2, together with our Creation King for multiple more negations, Combined Creation, which is our way of getting negations onto the board using the trap card, and Mace in hand to act as a Snatch Steal. To do this, we must destroy a lot of our own cards and send them to the graveyard. We're going to really quickly cover the key use of every card, and we'll go from there. We'll start off with the most basic normal summon we have, which is Mementolian Dark Blade. You can, when it is normal summoned, pitch a Memento card and destroy a spell trap your opponent controls, so it's built-in spell trap removal. Neat. More importantly, though, if you destroy it, you can special summon a level 3 or lower Memento monster from your deck. Most of the time, the target for this is going to be Anguish. When it is normal special summon, you can add a Memento monster from your deck to your hand, except Anguish, and then if you decide to destroy it, you can target level 2 or lower Memento in your graveyard and destroy a Memento monster you control, which you will most likely always destroy Anguish, and then special summon the targeted monster. Anguish is usually going to search Tatsuno-Toshigo, I'm just gonna call him Zebra. Zebra, when it is, it doesn't have a special summon effect, but it can special summon itself from your hand if you control only Memento monsters or no Memento monsters. Then, if you destroy it, you get to target, or rather, if you activate it, you get to target and destroy one of your Memento monsters, and then send monsters with the combined level of the destroyed monster from the deck to the graveyard. So if you destroy Tatsuchuga no Go Zebra, you get to send up to level 5 total. Normally, you will be sending 3 specific cards, which we will go over, but this is your main playmaker in the deck. It starts off everything you want to do. What you are usually sending is going to be Mementolian Mace. If you have this in your hand and you control Combined Creation, which we'll get to, you can discard this and target a face a monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. If it's on the field, you can destroy a Memento monster, either itself or something else, and add a Memento spell trap to your hand. You will also be sending a Goblin. If you control Combined Creation, you can discard them for the rest of the turn. They cannot target Memento monsters with card effects. And you can, by destroying a Memento monster while it's on the field, just send 2 Memento cards with different names for each other from your deck to the graveyard, which also helps. You'll then also be sending Sleepy. By sending Sleepy, it really doesn't do anything, honestly. Yay. But if it is special summon, we can fusion summon using monsters we control and in our hand, which is the most important effect of Sleepy. Once all of that is sent, the normal combo is going to be summon Dark Blade, activate Dark Blade effect to summon Anguish, Anguish add you the horse, special summon the horse and activate the horse, popping horse in order to send Sleepy, Goblin, and Mace. Activate the on-field effect of Anguish to destroy itself to special summon Mace from the graveyard. Activate Mace effect to destroying Mace to search Mementolian Fusion. During the main phase, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Memento. If a monster in your possession was destroyed by card effect this turn, which all of the Mementos do to themselves, you can also shuffle Memento monsters from your graveyard into the deck as material. What you will be summoning off of this is Mementolian Teklukia, whatever, Creation King. When this is summoned, you get to send 3 memento cards from your deck and extra deck to the graveyard, and you can banish Creation King from the graveyard to search their field spell. Generally speaking, you will be sending another copy of Creation King, a Gatic, which when it is sent to the graveyard by a Mementolian effect, it will special summon itself, and when it's special summoned, you get to add a card to your hand, normally being Sleepy. Then you get to search the field spell, which is Mementolian. If a card is destroyed by battle or card effect, a memento monster, you can target it in the graveyard and then special summon a card from your graveyard with a level lower than what you destroyed. Then at the end phase, you also get to set a spell trap or memento card onto the field from your graveyard. Normally that's going to be your Cranium Burst. Let's look at Cranium Burst then. It is a continuous trap, and while you control a memento monster, your opponent can only attack the highest attack memento monster on the field. Then, when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can target one Mementolia Combined Creation, and if you do, it loses exactly 1000 attack and defense, and if it does negate the activated effect, it can be activated once per chain. This card, together with Combined Creation, is 5 on-field monster negates. Kind of crazy. Combined Creation cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned from hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other memento monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard into the deck and extra deck. And while you control no other monsters, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a memento monster from your hand or graveyard. Normally speaking, we will want to loop these cards around so that we end on Combined Creation and a copy of Creation King with Witch in the graveyard so that we can use the effect of Combined Creation when our opponent does anything to special summon Anguish, which searches us the mace from the deck that we shuffled back, using either Mementolian Fusion or the summoning of Combined Creation. That is the main board of the deck. We end on Cranium Burst, Combined Creation, Creation King, and then usually the special summon Anguish or whatever else we might happen to have. Sometimes you also have an IP, depending on the hand. It happens. It can go into like Unicorn or Phoenix or whatever we need at the time. It does stuff. In addition to this, then, we have a couple of support cards. We are playing a Mementolian Akahiron. Basically, if this is in the graveyard and one of your memento cards is destroyed, it will special summon itself. We have a Mementolian Horned Dragon, which essentially just acts as a free special summon if you have 3 or more memento monsters in your graveyard. Also, if this is destroyed by card effect, you can destroy a memento monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, which comes up sometimes. It's not necessarily a card you're using actively. You're using it as a free material for the most part. Then we also have Mementolian Bone Party, arguably one of the best cards in the deck. You destroy a memento monster in your hand or face a field, you take a memento monster from your deck with a different name and add it to your hand or special summon in a defense position, and then during the main phase 1, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a memento monster you control. If it attacks a defense position monster this turn, inflict piercing battle damage. Normally you'll be doing this on the Combined Creation if it's the only card you control and your opponent has a bunch of monsters, and you will just clean house from there. This is also why Book of Moon or Book of Tayu is an incredibly good card in this deck, because you can flip everything face down and just let Combined Creation go to town. Unfortunately, we can't afford Tayu unless we want to sacrifice something like Effect Veil or Duel and Lockbird, which we really don't for our format. Duel and Lockbird has dominated the Lupine Weekly format for quite some time, and it will continue to do so for probably some more time. What you will see, though, is that we have had another ban list update, and now Called by the Grave has been moved to 2, so we might actually be able to out it. If you'd like to see the full ban list changes, I will flash them really quickly on screen here, but the rest of the things can be found on the Discord in case you want them. Other than that, of course, we're playing some weird one-offs. We are playing the 1-for-1, which can summon Goblin from the deck, which is great. We are playing the aforementioned Book of Moon, mostly because they are cheap interaction that we need to have. We're playing 3 Goblin Biker Grand Breakout, because guess what? This special summons a Goblin monster, not specifically a Goblin Biker, so we can actually summon a Mementolian Goblin off of this. It's kind of funny. We're also playing the 1-off Anti-Spell Fragrance, because it was a very cheap card that we could slot into the slot that we needed, and I figured we may as well have it in there. For our extra deck, we are playing 3 copies of Creation King. We're playing 2 copies of Mementolian Twin Dragon, which is your main way of searching your big guys. Any 2 memento monsters, usually being Gatic and Sleepy off of its own effect, you then summon this and it gets to destroy a Mementolian monster, which is usually itself, to search 2 memento cards from your deck to your hand, normally being Horned Dragon and Combined Creation in the full combo. This deck can do a lot of wacky stuff. It can really put out a lot of interactions on the board, but it is highly reliant on getting its combo off, and the Cranium Burst gets to remain on the field. What we really struggle against is spell trap removal. This is why we're playing Anti-Spell Fragrance, because as a one-off, sometimes this can protect us from, like, Harpy's Feather Duster or any other spell trap removal we might not be able to deal with otherwise. Other than that, we're playing a bunch of additional cards in the extra deck that sometimes come up. We're playing a Guardian Chimera to pop some cards, a Draco Stapelia in case we need it. We're playing Durandal because it happens to be a rank 5 that we can utilize, and Bamboozling Gossip Shadow because it's a rank 3 that we can happen to utilize sometimes. Crusadia, Avermax, Nightmare Unicorn, Phoenix, Dark, IP, and Artemis. nothing too fancy here. Side deck-wise, we can't really afford much because we are playing on the dollar. We've got 3 Radiant, 3 Contact C, 2 Dark Hole, 3 Twin Twisters, and a red reboot, and that's about it. We are just going to move on straight into the games, but first off, let's show you the TCG Legal version of this deck. Now, you might be shocked to see that this deck can basically not afford anything either, and it is slightly reversed in terms of ratios. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is more relevant in the TCG than it is in our current format, so I have slotted this in instead of Droll and Lockbird, which most decks can now play around. We've also still running the Effect Veilers. We got a Harpy's Feather Duster in our main board this time around. We're still playing the one called By the Grave, and we're also playing an extra copy of Mace, because sometimes that comes up. In our side deck, we've also changed out a card for Dimensional Barrier, because this is a much better card to have in your side deck, which is now banned in the Lupine Weekly. No real major changes to the actual game plan in the TCG version. You are still doing the same thing, you just have different tools at your disposal. With that out of the way, let's head straight into the games. Our first game of today, we're playing up against J-Chip, who is on Flooandereeze. We actually open a fairly decent hand here, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to normal summon the Anguish, activating it to search Zebra. Zebra is then going to be activated to special summon itself, and then we are immediately going to destroy it in order to send 3 cards to the graveyard, sending Sleepy, Goblin, and Mace. We are then going to activate the Anguish, targeting the Mace, destroying it and summoning Mace, then activating Mace's effect to search for Fusion. We're then going to activate Fusion, fusing off 3 of the cards here. We're going to go ahead and do keeping Mace and Sleepy in the graveyard to summon Creation King. We're going to activate Creation King, and with it, we're going to be sending off a Gaddock, a Creation King, and Cranium Burst. We're going to activate Gaddock, special summoning itself, and then picking back up the Sleepy that we left in the graveyard from earlier when we get hit by the Fat Rock. We get rocked here, but we do still have the field spell, so sending the king here was probably a mistake. But we do have Sleepy, and luckily with Sleepy, we have another Darkblade in hand to use. We'll go Sleepy, we'll activate it, fusing the Darkblade and Sleepy into Twin Dragon. Twin Dragon will activate, popping itself and searching as Horned Dragon and Combined Creation. Then we'll activate the second effect of Twin Dragon, which is going to special summon a monster from the graveyard, as well as the second effect of Mementolian, which is the field spell, which will special summon something that is below level 7. We'll bring out Darkblade and Gaddock, then we'll special summon our Horned Dragon. We'll activate the Darkblade, destroying itself to get a Goblin onto the field, so we can then activate the effect of Goblin to pop it and send Tachiyon and Anguish back into the graveyard. We'll then link off 2 of our cards for an IP Masquerena. We'll keep Gaddock on board, and then we will shuffle 5 cards into the deck, making sure to keep the Anguish in our graveyard to special summon Combined Creation. With this, we're also going to destroy the Gaddock using Mementolian Fusion in order to search for Fracture Dance. At this point, we're going to set Fracture Dance and Pants. At the end phase, the Memento field spell is going to set Cranium Burst onto the field, and we'll pass over to J-Chip. At this point, during his draw phase, we'll flip up Cranium Burst, and we now have 5 negates live, hoping that that's enough. He will Terraforming for Flooandereeze and the Magnificent Map, and we realize immediately that Droll is going to win us this game, regardless of what we do. We are going to activate the effect of Combined Creation, which is going to special summon Anguish, and then we'll chain the Droll and Lockbird, and I fucked up here. I should have just let this go. But it's fine. We don't get a free card here, but it doesn't matter. We'll activate Fracture Dance in response to the activation of Magnificent Map and blow up both the Nibiru and the map, but it turns out J-Chip had another map the entire time. He is under Droll though, so it doesn't end up mattering too much, and with Anguish on the field, we are just going to activate its effect to special summon a guy back. We get Gaddock. Gaddock is going to pick up a guy. We are going to choose to pick up Sleepy. This is also going to trigger Tachiyon. Tachiyon will special summon itself and will special summon Goblin off of the field spell. We'll get Sleepy. We'll activate Sleepy, special summoning it, and then activate Sleepy's effect to go into Twin Dragon. We are going to get Nibiru again, because I just... Look, in the Discord call, I was like, hey, if you want to Nibiru me again, fucking go ahead. I guess he did. He special summons it, and we get a fattest rock of all time, so you know what? We'll just go ahead and we'll bring back the Combined Creation, because you know what? I don't care. Combined Creation comes back as we shuffle everything back in the deck. We'll go to battle phase here and punch over the Nibiru. He's going to take 2,000 damage. We'll simply set the Anti-Spell Fragrance. We will get Fracture Dance back because it comes back thanks to our field spell. During the draw phase, we'll activate Anti-Spell, and there is not a chance in hell he's coming back from this. He'll activate Map. We'll pop the map. We'll go Creation King for Anguish. Anguish to search a card, and we'll get Mace this time that we're not under Droll like stupid people. And at this point, he'll summon Rubina. Rubina will be negated by the Cranium Burst, and who do you know? We'll take game number 1. Game number 2, and our hand is looking far, far worse. And we're also going second up against Rubina and our arch nemesis, Dimension Shifter. This is one of the worst cards for for us to be up against because we literally require the graveyard. We are dead without it. So, J-Ship will go ahead and activate Flooandereeze in the Advent of Adventure during his draw phase to just get himself a bird. Robina will activate, getting his the Eagle and he banished back, and you have seen the full Flooandereeze combo before, but J-Ship gets the Neospatian Air Hummingbird, which is the coolest tech card I've ever seen. Flooandereeze and Eaglin is going to add Apex Avion, to which I question why didn't you grab the Penguin, but of course he already has the Penguin. Penguin is going to come out, he's going to activate Robina to get Robina back to the hand, because this is what Flooandereeze likes to do. He'll add Dreaming Town in order to special or tribute summon during our turn. He'll get the map out, he'll set a card, and he'll pass back to us. Unfortunately for us, we draw a Gaddock, which isn't really that good, so we'll normal summon Veiler. We normal summon, so here comes Robina. When Robina is activated, we will break out for the Goblin, because we do need to have a monster on board to try and get this started. He'll simply add everything he could ever want, and because we are under Shifter, we can't really do anything here. We're kind of stuck just out-wavering Shifter, and it's not going to go great. He sets up the negate, he gets his Robina back, and at this point, I kind of realized that there isn't anything we're going to do. We're just going to activate Goblin, banish a bunch of cards, and scoop, because I mean, if everything's banished, we really can't do anything. Game number 3 then, and we open the call by, so hopefully that's enough. We also open Horse and Dark Blade, which is perfect. He goes for the Dimension Shifter immediately, and we tell him to screw off with our call by. We're going to do full combo again here. We're going to go for the Dark Blade normal summon, then activate Horse because we control the thing. We'll send everything to the graveyard. We'll activate Dark Blade in order to summon Anguish. Anguish is going to grab us Combined Creation this time because we already got everything else we need. We're going to go ahead and activate it, and we're going to go for the Mace. Mace is going to activate. We're going to grab Mementolian Fusion. Mementolian Fusion is going to activate. We're going to shuffle back a bunch of cards and get ourselves the Creation King. Creation King is going to pitch 3 cards. We're going to pitch Creation King, Gaddock, and Cranium Burst. Gaddock is going to activate. You've seen me do this before. We're going to pick back up Sleepy. Sleepy is going to activate once we've activated Creation King to search our field spell. Field spell is out. We will go Sleepy. Sleepy will fuse together with Gaddock to make Twin Dragon. Twin Dragon will activate, popping Twin Dragon to search 2 more cards. Here we search the Mace and the Horned Dragon. We then go for the effects, full summon Goblin and Gaddock back. We'll special summon the Horned Dragon. We will Goblin, sending a Horse and Tachiyon because we didn't really have any other targets. We will use the Mementolian Fusion to pop Gaddock to get Fractured Dance. At this point, we'll activate Tachiyon because a card was destroyed, and we can use them for an IP. We are then going to go ahead and we are going to summon our Combined Creation. Set 2, and then with our field spell, get the trap back, and that is our full combo, ladies and gentlemen. We'll activate Cranium Burst in the draw phase and hope that that's enough to just simply end the game. He's going to normal summon Air Hummingbird. I'm going to tell him no. And then I'll activate the effect to get Anguish. I'll Anguish for another card, and I decide to grab a Zebra. And as you can probably guess, he doesn't have that much. He'll activate Fissure and Scoop, because, hey, that's what Memento is supposed to do. Game number 2, we're up against Caddy, who is playing Phantom Knight's level 3 Turbo, but he manages to set 3 cards and pass to us, which is about as best as we're gonna get. We'll go for the Mementolian Anguish, which is going to be hit by the Infinite Impermanence, to which we chain Goblin Baker Grand Breakout to sack off the Anguish, which is then gonna be hit by Called by the Grave, which is just absolutely hilarious. At this point, though, we do get a Mementolian Goblin at the very least, but our Witch is gone. We'll go for Goblin, and we're pitching the Gaddock and Zebra this time. We're going to special summon Gaddock and pick back up the Zebra from the graveyard that we sent, activate the Zebra in order to send a bunch of other cards to the graveyard. We end up sending a Goblin and a Dark Blade. We're then going to activate Mementolian Fusion because we have destroyed a card this turn, thank God, and we can just shuffle everything back for a Creation King. We'll go for the Creation King, sending a bunch of cards. We're sending Creation King, Tachiyon, and Cranium Burst. We'll go ahead and get the field spell off of our second copy of Creation King. Activating the field spell, we're then going to activate Creation King, popping the Gaddock, which is going to be met with another Nibiru. God damn it. We get a Nibiru token. We still get to pick the set Predaplant Darlington Cobra, which, yeah, he definitely bricked. We'll get for the Mementolian Fusion, actually destroying the token, going for Bone Party. Bone Party is going to send the Dark Blade to the graveyard, to which we get our Combined Creation. We're going to go for the Combined Creation, shuffling literally everything in our graveyard back because we don't have any other choice, and then just go to battle and punch for 2k, and then set up our negates on the following turn. We'll also set our Anti-Spell Fragrance once more, we'll get our negates live, and that's basically everything we've got. We'll activate Cranium Burst and Anti-Spell, and at this point, that should be good game. We took game number 1 with no worries. Game number 2, then. Our hand this time is actually not great. This is kind of bad, but fortunately for us, Caddy once again bricks and does nothing. Yay. We go for the Mace. We're going to be met with an emergency teleport here, and that is really bad. We were hoping here that he would attempt, like, when we activate Mace, this was another imperm. If it was, we could chain the Goblin Grand Breakout and get out that way, because Mace by himself doesn't actually do anything. Unfortunately, now we have to book the Rabbit, which is fine, and then go for the Breakout. Anyway, we go for the Breakout, getting Goblin onto the board. We activate Goblin, and unfortunately, the trap we had to watch out for was a Veiler. We try to book the Goblin here, but unfortunately, that no longer triggers its effect, and we are just stuck doing nothing. We, too, set 3 cards and pass, to which he flips up Wielder and Snow Rabbit, going into Cherubini, and pitches the Torn Scales, to which I know that I'm freaking dead. I'm simply going to scoop them up here because I know what Phantom Knights do. We'll go game 3. And so, game 3 goes live. Our starting hand is slightly better this time. We actually have cards that are able to do things. We'll go for the Dark Blade. We'll activate Dark Blade, sending it off for an Anguish. Anguish is going to activate, getting ourselves the Horse. Now that we have basically full combo, we're going to go for the Horse, and unfortunately, we are hit by Duel. Duel sucks. Playing around Duel here is going to be really hard because we did not open Fusion in hand, and even if we could fuse at this point, we can't actually get into our combined creation in basically any clean form, so we're going to have to do the best with it. We'll go for Zebra Effect, and with Zebra Effect, we're sending the usual suspects. We're sending Gaddock and Sleepy. We're going to go for Gaddock here. Gaddock picking up the Sleepy from the graveyard so that we have a Sleepy live so that we can actually use it to fuse. We'll still go into the Creation King and we'll pitch 3 cards. We are going to pitch the Creation King, Combined Creation, and Cranium Burst. We're then going to link off into IP, and then I realized, yeah, I just have to summon my big guy because I don't have a way of getting Cranium Burst back because I already used the effect. Oopsie daisy. We'll get Cranium Burst back. We'll simply set up Book of Moon and we'll pass and hope to God that that's enough. And Caddy scoops. So after the game, he told me that he literally did not open an engine piece that could out a pop 2. Which, you know what? If you only had one guy, that's fair. I can't really out you. We technically had an interaction in overlaying for Unicorn as well. So there were things that we could do here. Very unfortunate for Caddy, but we'll take a win. Alright, game number 3 then, up against Bosque, who is playing Tachiyon of all things. We are once again forced to going second here as he activates Infinity Dragon, special summoning Galactic Spiral, overlaying them both for Dragaluxion, searching the Tachiyon Primal. This is essentially rank 8 turbo deck. He'll go for the overlay here, making himself the Galaxy Eyes Tachiyon Dragon, special summoning Tachiyon Primal from his hand, activating the effect to search Transmigration. He'll then go for the Afterglow Dragon, and then get a normal summon of Seifert. Seifert activating to search Tachiyon Cloud Dragon. So many new Tachiyon cards, man. This archetype is interesting. Cloud Dragon is going to activate and special summon itself, sacking itself for another Tachiyon Primal from the deck. He's again going to overlay for a Titanic Galaxy. He's going to get a bunch of extra attachments and then get back the Galactic Spiral Dragon. He's going to trade into Pot of Greed and pass turn to us. This isn't an unbeatable board, but it is a little bit annoying considering he has Transmigration in hand. We'll go main phase 1. We'll go for the Horse. We'll attempt to activate the Horse, and the Horse is going to be met with an Effect Veiler, to which we chain Bone Party. This is going to get negated by Titanic Galaxy, which makes sense. Everything gets negated. We'll go for the normal summon of Goblin, but that's going to get hit with Transmigration. Shuffled back into the deck, and now we're screwed. We're going to go for the Mementolian Fusion. We'll fuse everything in our hand, including the Combined Creation, to make Creation King. We're then going to send the usual suspects, Creation King, Gaddock, and Cranium Burst. Not exactly the best here, but we're going to go for the Gaddock. The Gaddock effect is going to pick back up the Cranium Burst, because it's the only thing we can really do. We're going to banish the Creation King for the field spell, and unfortunately here, we're kind of bone around. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pop the entire field, which activates Mementolian again to special summon Gaddock back, and then we're going to Mementolian Fusion to pop the Gaddock, and unfortunately, we only really have one copy of Bone Party, and it's a once per turn, and as you can see, we don't have enough guys to bring Creation onto the board, so we just have to pass. We'll set the Bone Party back, and then hope to God he doesn't kill us, but he's on Tachiyon. Probably he's going to. Yeah. It was very clear Tachiyon is just going to over to Chaos. We'll go game 2. Game 2 is looking way better than the first one. We actually have plays we can do. Normal summoning Dark Blade going into the Anguish. Anguish effect is going to search Horse. Horse is going to be special summoned, and Horse is going to pop itself, and then we send the usual suspects. We sent ourselves a Goblin and a Sleepy. We have the Mace in hand, so unfortunately, no send. We're going to go for the Mementolian Fusion, shuffling everything back for the Creation King. We are also specifically sending the Mace from hand here, because we want the target for Anguish. We're going to go ahead and send our 3 guys, Cranium Burst, Gaddock, and Creation King. You've seen this all before. We'll special summon Gaddock from the graveyard using its own effect, and search Sleepy back to our hand, and then we will go for the Creation King to search the field spell. We're going to activate the field spell and then activate our Anguish in order to get back our mace. This is going to trigger and get Goblin back onto the board. We'll pop the mace for Fracture Dance. And we'll pop the Goblin to send 2 cards to the graveyard after doing Sleepy. We'll Sleepy for Gaddock, and then use the Twin Dragon, popping itself, searching both of our guys, both the Horn Dragon and Combined Creation. We're then going to special summon back the Gaddock, use the Goblin to send 2 cards. We're sending Tachiyon and a Dark Blade. We'll go for the Tri-Dragon, we'll overlay them into an IP Masquerena, and then we will send 5 cards back, making sure to keep Witch in the graveyard and sending Mace back to the deck to special summon our Combined Creation. We'll set the Fracture Dance, we'll get the trap off of our field spell, so Cranium Burst is live, and we'll pass turn. We'll activate Cranium Burst, and at this point, we also have the funniest card in this matchup. We have Contact C. Now, unfortunately, this is yet another thing that this deck struggles against. Kaijus. If they Kaiju your big guy, you have no more negates. At this point, though, because he special summon, we're actually going to activate Contact C. Contact C special summons itself to our opponent's side of the field, and if he wants to exceed Link, Synchro, or Fusion, he has to use Contact C. Contact C is a level 6. This means that there's no rank 8s going on. We'll pop the Safeguard as it gets summoned. He has another Gaddarla in hand, which will also end up popping, which activates the Mementolian and Tachiyon. Gaddock is going to pick back up a card as well, and at this point, Bosque is going to scoop because he literally cannot summon any rank 8s. Contact C won us this game by absolute margins. But yeah, this is one of those occasions where it's like, if your opponent knows what you are up to, it is a very easy way to out anything that Memento wants to do on their own, and that is just to Kaiju their big guy. You Kaiju the big guy, and all of their negates go bye-bye. But we have a game 3. For game 3, we actually open the ever-coveted Duel and a Lockbird, which should get us to where we want to go. Bosque is going to normal summon Safeguard, activating the effect of the Sakitama from hand, and then overlaying them for Galaxy Photon Dragon, discarding 1 in order to get Tachiyon Primal. Because he controls a Galaxy card, he's going to get to summon it, but we're going to attempt to Droll and Lockbird him, and unfortunately called by the Nope. He goes for Tachiyon Primal, special summons it, and then Tachiyon Primal gets to search the Transmigration. He then activates the Afterglow Dragon from hand to overlay them both into Dragluxion. Dragluxion effect searches a second Transmigration, and this is going to get scary now. At this point, he's going to activate an overlay for the Tachiyon Dragon, of course attaching the Afterflow Dragon. He has the Photon Dragon in hand. He's going to send the Safeguard away in order to get another card, and then pass turn to us. Technically, he would have had 2 live negates here, if not for our big fat Kaiju. Kaiju's going to come in very handy here, because now all we have to do is break the board. We'll go for Horse. He's going to activate the Tachiyon Primal, special summoning into defense. This is going to come back and bite him later. He's going to trigger the Primal to search a card, and then the Photon Dragon, targeting it to search another, and he gets Tachiyon Spiral of Destruction. Never seen that shit before, but it's a card. We'll go Horse. Horse is going to send Sleepy, Goblin, and Mace. Normal summon the Anguish. Anguish activate in order to search Combined Creation. We're going for the kill, baby. We'll go for the Anguish and then tag out, of course, into Mace. Mace is going to activate to grab us Bone Party. This becomes very relevant. We're then going to activate Mementolian Fusion in order to go into you-know-who, our Creation King. Creation King is going to activate, and we'll pitch a bunch of cards. We are pitching the Tachiyon, Creation King, and Cranium Burst. We'll go ahead and we'll search the field spell, as we always do, just to have it live. At this point, we will activate Creation King, and we actually have to deal with the Photon Dragon here, or we wouldn't be able to OTK. Once that is done, we're going to activate Bone Party, we're going to get rid of Gaddock, and we're going to special summon it, or rather get Mace to our hand. We are then going to activate the Combined Creation, because we need Bone Party in our graveyard for this one. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get Combined Creation onto the board. We're going to activate Bone Party, targeting our Combined Creation, so now it deals piercing damage. We also get to attack every monster our opponent controls once each, because Combined Creation is the only card on the board. Because of the 0 defense Photon Dragon and the low defense of Tachiyon Primal, we can actually punch in for game using this combo. This was scary, because if Bosque had actually set one of the 2 Transmigration Prophecies, or the Transmigration whatever it's called, I keep calling it Prophecy, that's the old draw card, the actual trap card, he would have been able to negate one of these, and we would not have been able to OTK. He did not expect us to have a Kaiju to stop him from using them from hand. That actually turned out to be the best thing that we could do, but hey, you know what? We will happily take the win, but that could have just as easily been a loss. For our last duel today, we're once again up against Lardax, who is on, honestly, it's just a cool deck. It's super heavy Samurai. I don't even mind. He's going to bring out Samurai Wagon in order to search Soul Horns from the deck, and we're going to hit him with the Fat Droll and Lockbird. He's then just going to pass his turn, because apparently that was enough to just kill him. Our hand is Not great. We're going to have to do the worst combo we can do. Mementolian is going to come down. We're going to normal summon Sleepy in order to go into Twin Dragon. We then get the Gaddock effect. Gaddock is going to special summon itself. We'll go ahead and we'll search Horse and Combine Creation. Twin Dragon is going to activate and bring back the Sleepy. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go for the Horse. Horse is going to send a bunch of cards to the graveyard, but unfortunately it gets met with Snow Rabbit. We then still go ahead and decide to destroy the Sleepy to send Goblin and Mace. Sleepy is going to activate because it was sent by a Mementolian effect, and because the Tachiyon was destroyed, we're going to trigger Mementolian as well. We are going to special summon the Mace, and we're going to send Akahiron to the graveyard. We'll activate Mace in order to search Mementolian fusions so we can still actually do our plays. So we'll go ahead and get Akahiron back on the board due to its own effect. We will fusion here, targeting 3 of our cards as we normally do to get Creation King. With Creation King, we will bin new suspects this time, Darkblade, Anguish, and Cranium Burst. We'll go for the fusion, popping the Gaddock in order to search ourselves the Fractured Imps. We're then going to go ahead and use the Akahiron to pop his wagon. We're then just going to go ahead and special summon the Combined Creation, and as long as he doesn't have Nibiru, this'll be game. It is game. Very cool. Moving on to game number 2, we once again have the fat Droll and Lockbird. This thing is just attached to our hand these days. Jesus Christ. He's going to go ahead and activate Wakaushi. Wakaushi special summoning itself, setting the Big Benkai. Big Benkai is going to search the Soul Gaia booster, and we will attempt to Droll and Lockbird once again. And what do you know? It goes off. He'll normal summon Box and make Bagukska. Huh. Well, looking at our hand, we literally have no card that can interact under Bagukska because all of these need to be activated to do their effects, and a card needs to be destroyed in order for us to use Mementolian Fusion in a good way. And even if we could special summon Horned Dragon, it'll just go to defense and we can't do anything. Crap. We're going to go ahead and we're going to activate Anti-Spell Fragrance at the very least. He's going to detach 1. He's going to go for the Soul Piercer into Scarecrow. We are going to get rid of the Soul Piercer to prevent it from searching a card here, but he's going to go Benkai and search the Peacemaker that way. This is very unfortunate because he's going to Soul Peacemaker onto the Scarecrow. This is going to allow him to link them both off for the Wakaushi. He's going to get Soul Gaia Booster from his hand. He's going to go to Wakaushi. He's going to make the Saratobi. He's going to set the scales, kill our Goblin, and at this point I kind of realized that, yeah, Bagukska straight up outs us. That would have been really nice a moment ago. Yeah, we literally cannot play under Bagukska. That's unfortunate. Game 3. And in Game 3, we opened that stupid hand again. Jesus. But at least we have interaction. We'll go for Sleepy. We'll do the same thing and go into Twin Dragon, activating Twin Dragon and Gaddock. Gaddock special summoning itself and Twin Dragon, searching out the Horse and Combined Creation. We'll go for the Twin Dragon effect to summon Sleepy. We'll then go for the Horse. Horse activate its own effect to pitch a bunch of cards. We're doing the same suspects, Mace, Goblin, and Sleepy. We'll go for the Bone Party, tagging out the Sleepy for an Anguish, using Anguish's effect to, we are binning off of the Sleepy, we're binning Akahiron, and then we're searching Tri-Horned Dragon off of Anguish. We then go ahead and activate Anguish, targeting the Mace in our graveyard, getting Mace onto the board. That triggers the Akahiron. We'll go ahead and activate Mace, pop the Mace to get Fusion. With the fusion, we'll do the usual. You've seen this a couple of times now, honestly, and hey, it is what it is. We'll go for the Creation King. Creation King binning 3 more cards, binning Creation King, Darkblade, and Cranium Burst. We'll get ourselves the Field Spell live. Now we might be able to do some stuff. We're going to go ahead for the IP. We are going to shuffle 5 cards back in order to special summon the Combined Creation. We don't care about the Horned Dragon here because more things on the board doesn't necessarily mean better. We'll go ahead and we'll summon it. We'll set 2. We'll get the trap back off of Mementolian. And we also open Anti-Spell Fragrance, which should be really nice, stopping Wakaushi. We'll flip open the Cranium Burst and the Fragrance and hope that that's enough. He goes for the Motorbike to search Samurai Scales. Very cool. He's then going to activate the effect of our Combined Creation to special summon Anguish, and Anguish will search out Mace from the deck, so now we have a Snatch Steal live. He goes for the Therian, which at this point I realize we're probably going to have to take that. We'll use our Snatch Steal to bait out it, and it's fine. He'll special summon the Scales. Scales will get negated by our Cranium Burst. He's going to go for the Wakaushi and then tag out for Saratobi. We are going to attempt to pop the Saratobi, to which he's going to attempt to pop our Cranium Burst, which we have to negate. We'll do that immediately. He gets his Scale back. We get our Mementolian effect to summon back Mace, and then Akahiron off of its own effect. Great. He'll go for the Wakaushi, getting the Big Benkai into the Scales. At this point, we'll go ahead and we'll go for the Unicorn, and we'll spin back the Big Benkai. Hoping he doesn't get, like, what we're attempting to do here, yes, we could have gotten rid of Wakaushi, but we are hoping to get rid of the Extender. Unfortunately, he already had the Soul Piercer in hand, which is sucky. And he also had a Fossil Dyna for unknown reasons. He special summons the Samurai Wagon regardless. Samurai Wagon, of course, is going to attempt to use its effect, which we are negating. He's then going to go to Scarecrow, the Soul Piercer, searching Soul Peacemaker. He's going to go Sopiel's Maker onto the Scarecrow, realizing he can't actually use the target here, which is unfortunate, and he's going to get out Benkai. He's then going to go to the battle phase, and he is forced to attack the highest attack Creation King, which kills off the one guy he had, and at the end phase, we've got a way to get rid of Combined Creation to reset, and buddy boy, we've won locals. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was Memento. We actually had a really good showing of Memento in the Lupine Weekly, which was not reflected when I was testing this deck off screen. I ran into so many people being able to out basically everything I did on a consistent basis that I very quickly realized where this deck actually falters. I will say that we were incredibly lucky to dodge most of those landmines today, but we're still going to go over them for our rating, because again, I rate decks not only based on our $50 format, but by whether or not you could go out and purchase this deck and actually go to your locals and do something fancy. It should also be noted that this week is the first week where we've actually changed the rating scale slightly. We have removed the fun category because it did feel a little bit lopsided by the fact that there's a lot of decks that I like that I've put on the wheel. So instead, we have changed it to difficulty, which is rating how hard the deck was to learn and play in a week, which is the allotted time that I have to pick up and learn the deck. It should give a more fair score to sort of round off the whole scoring system we've been doing. I've also slightly adjusted some of the other deck scores, but none of them changed in any major ways, so regardless, let's rate Memento. For power levels, it gets a very strong 7 because if we actually do get to set up our board, we have a ton of interactions on it. We've got an IP that can very easily go into a Phoenix or a Unicorn to spin a card. We have 5 on-field monster negates that we can easily reset, and we have a pop 1, 2, or 3 that is very, very good. Most of the time, we are also able to bring out a Mace, which acts as a Snatch Steal, so that's another piece of interaction. Our consistency is also fairly okay at a 6. Most 2 cards in this deck can do something. Obviously, both Darkblade and Anguish are 2 of the main starters in the deck, and they can do everything on their own. Goblin can technically do a combo on its own as well, but it is more fragile than the other 2. And then you have that weird combo with Sleepy and Gaddock specifically that can also go off thanks to Twin Dragon. Even so, most of the cards that we are running are just consistency boosters. Technically, 2 names are usually fine. Horse is a starter on its own. Anguish is a starter on its own. It gets to its board. Where we lack is resistance. Now, we played through Nibiru. We tried to play through Droll and Lockbird, and it didn't really go that well. We played through a single piece of interaction. The problem really comes down to when we play against opponents who know what we're doing. We did not run into any spell trap removal today. If we did, we would have lost the game. This entire deck build rides and dies on the fact that Cranium Burst gets to remain on the board. If this card is removed for any reason, all of your interactions basically go bye-bye, and your opponent is free to do whatever they want. Yes, we mostly set up Fracture Dance too, but this is 5 monster negates. It's a lot of value that they're getting rid of, and they can easily do that with any removal card, because the entire deck lacks Spell Trap protection unless you summon exactly Gossip Shadow. It's not great, I'm gonna be honest. Even if so, if our opponent has any form of hard interaction on our normal summon, like on Darkblade on Anguish, and we don't have a Grand Breakout or a Bone Party, we are basically dead in the water because they are so heavily reliant on getting their effects off, and more specifically, popping a card to enable Mementolian fusion to use from the graveyard, that if we aren't allowed to do that, we kind of just sit still and lose the game. As far as sideboarding goes, it gets major points docked off because there is no way we can actually fill the sideboard. I played with so many versions of this deck to try and make this work and cut corners literally everywhere, but it just was not possible. The only way to do that would be to drop Bone Party or Anguish from the deck, and in which case you would have plenty of money to spare, but both of those cards are such integral parts of this combo that doing the combo without them gets really convoluted. It's not really worth not running them because they are just that good for your deck. Then we should also talk about the fact that when your opponent knows what you are on, they will immediately side into Spell Trap removal if they are running it to get rid of Cranium Burst exactly, and in that case you run into the problem of, well shit, I guess we're losing the game. What we can do here is we can obviously bring in things like Contact C or a Kaiju going second or something, but with the cost that we have, our games 2 and 3 are going to be much harder than games 1. In terms of difficulty, honestly, in a week, this is a pretty convoluted deck. There are a lot of odd combo situations where your just normal summon Darkblade is not going to cut it. Any interaction changes your combo drastically, and you really have to stay on top of your game to figure out where you have to do your effects. Otherwise, you can end up in a situation where you've either used too many names or too few names, and you just kind of wall it out from there. The basic combo is fairly easy, and I will say that doesn't take a lot of skill to kind of get down. It's the interactions surrounding them that gets this a very low score. It's not something like Grand Magi where you normal summon and attack face. This is actually quite convoluted. This ends Memento, even though we completely sweeped today on a 24-point total. The deck got a really good display in the Lupine Weekly, and I will honestly not say anything against that. But in my private testing, when playing up against actual TCG decks, it just could not keep up. It should be noted, though, that if you have more money to spend on this deck so that you can actually run side pieces that assist it, things like Kashtira, or I don't know, some people playing Azamina in the deck, which is pretty cool. This deck does significantly better, and it's actually considered a meta-relevant threat at that point, which super cool, by the way. I love the idea of this deck, but at a $50 level, I don't think it's that worth it. Do something else that can get more power for your buck. But if you're willing to spend maybe $100 or $150, this deck is sweet, and you should definitely give it a go. This ends off with an E rank, which is unfortunately a little bit low for what I was expecting, but you know what? They at least did not get the first F tier of the series, and that's something that we'll have to be happy with. Now, before we end off this video, of course, we have the wheel spin to get to. What will we be playing next week? There we go. Next week we're playing... No. Oh, you better not. Oh, thank God! That is a pixel away from the destruction of this entire series. I'm so happy that did not spin. Dinosaur, I'll happily play. That's a cool deck. I don't mind that. But I'll hide the... Oh, no. Oh, it disappeared. Damn it. Can I turn it back on so we can see it? Yeah, that is a hair's needle away from what? Oh, thank God I get to play Dinosaur. That's a deck I can do.